Well, that, of course, is the infamous Firedrake music that's used to jam international broadcasters like the VOA, Radio Free Asia, and others that broadcast to China. Now, you may notice something different about what we just heard in that it's not taken off of shortwave. It, in fact, is CD quality. Now, how did I come across a CD quality copy of the Firedrake? Well, joining me on the phone line is the guy who discovered it. His name is Mark Fahey. He's from Australia. Mark, before we begin talking about Firedrake, I want to ask you, are you a shortwave listener, and do you listen to shortwave radio much?
Well, I was as a teenager. I was an avid shortwave listener, but in adult life, haven't got as much time as I did to listen to the radio, and it's probably been about 20 years or so since I've really listened to shortwave radio. But just occasionally pick up a magazine and hear what's happening in the shortwave world.
Well, this leads me to the question then, how did you find out about Firedrake?
Well, as I said, when I was a teenager, I was very into shortwave radio. And as it happened, just on eBay one day, I saw the exact same model that I had as a teenager, shortwave radio, and it was in mint condition. It had never been used, still in its shipping container. So I bought it, essentially to reminisce back to my teenage years. I turned it on and tuned around, and I heard Chinese classical music. And being interested in all different types of music, I actually listened to it. And then thought it was a bit strange that everywhere I went on the radio, I heard the same program. There was never any announcements and no identification, and would simply turn off. And then the next day it would be there again.
Was it very clear in Australia?
Yeah, it was the strongest signal. And I just was fascinated by it, and asked a few colleagues that I knew were into broadcasting, a few people that work in the broadcasting profession, and they said, oh, it's most likely Firedrake, or sometimes called Firedrake, a Chinese jammer, because of course when I was listening to shortwave regularly, it was usually just a continuous tone was the jammer you heard. And so I was quite intrigued that it was actually music was being used, a signal which actually could be listened to as a broadcast was being used to jam other stations.
Wow, that's actually amazing that you can pick it up so far, especially all the way in Australia, and the signal's not even being beamed to that area. So you came across this CD quality version. How did you do it?
Well, though I don't listen to shortwave radio that often now, I'm very interested in satellite communications, and I like traveling, and also like virtual travel by watching television and, from other countries on a satellite dish I have in my backyard. And I just happen to know that the domestic Chinese radio was fed by satellite feed circuits off a Chinese satellite. And just one day it struck me, oh, I wonder if this is exactly the way the jamming signal is sent to transmitters. And so I went hunting for it, and within about half an hour found the signal.
Was it easy to find?
Yeah, it was very easy to find actually. So it was simply mixed in with other Chinese domestic radio feeds going to various transmitters. I found the Firedrake audio.
Now, when you found the Firedrake using the one of the carriers for one of the domestic Chinese broadcasters, which is China National Radio, was it on the left channel, right channel, or were they using a sub-carrier on the main channel?
Yeah, it was on. It's simply one of the networks was in mono, and on the left audio channel was the regular radio signal for that network. And this happened to be on the right channel. So actually on a stereo receiver, you were hearing one broadcast out of one speaker, and you were hearing Firedrake out of the other.
Now, what's really interesting to me, Mark, about the Firedrake music is that it's exactly 60 minutes long. Not a second shorter and not a second longer.
That's right. What's very interesting is that at the end of the musical piece, it seems that the transmitter turns off for maybe 30 seconds or so, and then turns back on. And so occasionally you'll get a snippet of a program which is underneath on the same frequency, and I assume that's the program they're jamming. and other times it will just be dead air, and I assume the program is finished that they were jamming. But it's just all very intriguing.
So tell me, I mean, are you a fan then of the Firedrake?
The more I've become very interested in Firedrake, and so I've read a fair bit about it. And of course, the article I wrote on the internet, a lot of people have contacted me, including Radio Free Asia and various other broadcasters who I've sent information and samples of the audio. It seems to this jammer has a lot of fans around the world. Well, maybe fans isn't exactly the word to use, but it certainly rouses a lot of interest.
You know, I remember not too long ago asking somebody from the technical department of China Radio International about jamming of international broadcasters, and he said, no, China does not jam international broadcasters, which is rather funny, actually. So by releasing it on CD, is your objective then to make this like a top 20 hit? Are you going to do like a techno dance version of this?
well, strangely enough, I actually do enjoy listening to Firedrake, and I have been known to have it in my car CD player. But and I have met others. Others have contacted me who are interested in the content because they have heard the music so often that they would like a nice high quality copy of it. But I don't really think it would become a worldwide hit. But interestingly enough, another strange signal that people hear sometimes on the shortwave radio, which is numbers spy stations. I've actually seen and have on my iPod an album which uses those numbers spy station signals as the main basis for a musical album.
The fact that you've released it as a CD is very interesting, and you kind of wonder like what the government in China thinks and what they must be saying to themselves. They're probably saying, you know, this is going against what we're trying to do with jamming.
Well, I actually did, attempt to contact someone in Beijing or wherever to say that, I was just in a very limited way planning to make a CD of the Firedrake signal. And of course I didn't expect to receive any reply and didn't, but the audio may be covered by copyright or it obviously was played by someone. So in making the CD available, I've made it clear that I'm not selling the content, I'm simply providing it. And in most cases, it's gone to people that want to use it for academic research.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for taking some time out to talk to us. And we're going to now have a little bit more jamming. If you think there's something wrong with your radio, well, there probably is.